Uh, Malt Messenger dropping tomorrow. Our first January tastings coming out. It has taken a lot longer to get that done than expected. We're into the busyness of the season, which is great. But we have two staff down sick, and that's just meaning things are taking longer than expected, including if you're doing the Uber version, the Uber Advent blog posts, which we are still planning to do. I've got two and a half of them written up. We're going to be calling them post-mortems instead of up-to-date blogs. They'll be after the fact blogs, but Evan's been doing a good job, I believe, of keeping the regular Advent blogs up and running. So I hope you're enjoying those. Um, yeah, I believe been an updated bingo card. I haven't looked at it. That's part of the fun. Uh, I'm more likely to stumble into something if I don't see it coming. Uh, but what can I tell you about what's coming in January? While I try to buy 1 or 2 more minutes for Evan to log in, we've got a replacement for the kind of a replacement for the MS Festival on Thursday, January 15th. Be a VIP tasting in the store, 3 hours long. Got about 6 brand ambassadors signed up for it already, hoping to get a couple more. Be a great evening, all of it for charity. So that's coming up. Also in town, Richard Urquhart, Thursday, January 13th, is going to be in to do a tasting with us to launch 2 new casks from Gordon MacPhail. I believe we've got a Milton Duff and a Glen Bergie coming, which is exciting. Unless it's a Glen Talkers and a Glen Bergie. I'm pretty sure it's a Milton Duff and a Glen Bergie. Our Burns Bash is coming up the week after that. And then we've got some vertical tastings, and including an Ichiro's malt tasting, exclusively whiskeys from Ichiro's Malt, Chichibu. So that'll be great fun. Lots of cool things coming up in the weeks ahead. Well, I guess really more months ahead because that first tasting is still over a month away. Nevertheless, you catch my drift. All right, we're going to get the show rolling on this because who knows how much longer Evan's going to be before he's able to log in. So
Could be
alone.
like years, even.
Oh, is he there?
Yes.
I can't see him yet, but I can hear him. Uh,
Yeah, I'm here.
all right. Well, he's back. I'm going to crack open window number 6 here in my still largely intact uh, calendar. Let's see what I've got. Evan, I will also say you appear to be much more festive this evening in your attire. So well done.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just trying to help people out with that bingo card. So,
Okay. Whiskey Trail Knights Edition Strathclyde 35-year-old is our day 6 dram. Evan, so single grain Scotch whiskey, a rather old
yeah.
one at that. I'm going to get this into my glass. Tell us what you've learned about Whiskey Trail or Strathclyde.
Yeah. So, I made a joke with this one. It seems like every blog post I mention Pernod Ricard in some shape or form. These guys are owned by Chivas Brothers slash Pernod Ricard.
Mm.
The only grain distillery that they own, I believe, currently, and they only got a hold of it in, I think it was around 2004 when it left Allied Domec as that company got broken up. Um, so it's been around since I believe it was 1927, and it is one of those grain distilleries that for a while did have a malt or some pot stills in there where they were making malt under the name Clinkeith, if I remember correctly.
Cool.
Yeah, but like all the grain distilleries that once had a malt portion in it, that malt portion was eventually taken away back in 1975.
I've had a couple Kinclaiths over the years, but very, very
Hmm.
few. They were quite rare. I think once the interest in closed distilleries started to catch on, the handful of companies that seem to still have them, like Signatory, tried to pretend they were the next Port Ellen, and the prices got silly very, very quickly. So the one we have here, this is from our friends at Elixir Distillers, bottled under their Whiskey Trail line. which has got a cool night slash stainless steel, or sorry, stained glass
Stained glass.
motif. Yeah,
Hmm.
obviously, if this is the real Knights, it would have been less than stainless steel, presumably. But distilled in 87, matured in ex-bourbon barrel, bottled at 46%. And yeah, Strathclyde, I mean, it's been a hit or miss grain for me over the years. This one's got a nice kind of very fruity, very citrus forward nose to it, like lots of lemon
Yeah.
and orange.
Yeah. A really big sort of like roasted grain note up front for me.
Mm.
Very roasted and toasty. Maybe a bit wheat driven.
A little bit of muesli.
Hmm.
There's also some kind of wood shop notes to it.
Yeah. A touch of linseed oil along with those wood shaving carpentry notes.
I mean, it's pretty distinctly grain. Like you can tell
Yeah.
right off the bat,
From
there's
the hop.
nothing too hidden about it.
Steve asked us that if there were any Monty Python Easter eggs on that label. I don't think there were. It would have been fantastic if there was like a somebody like holding coconuts just behind that night in the stained glass motif that they had going on there.
That had never even occurred to me, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something in there that was intended to be a bit of a talking point. But I think with this series, what's interesting is that I'm not really sure they know what to do with this Whiskey Trail series. I think we were
Yes.
the first store to get this, and it was bottled like several years ago. Like this has been in glass now for almost 3 years. And when I remember when they first came in, same with the Cows series, I was desperately trying to find information online for them, and there was nothing. Like I don't even think
Mhm.
some of these were on Whiskey Base when we first got them in.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really surprising because there's some great whiskeys and it's just kind of
Hmm.
a a line that is constantly in search of a new theme for one thing, because we've seen
Hmm.
multiple themes at this point, and maybe that's what they do with it. But
Hmm.
it just doesn't have any real continuity to it because of that, like the Port Escape line or the Elements of Islay line or even the Single Malts of Scotland line.
Hmm. The palate's still very juicy, loads of citrus tones, almost a little bit tropical. Like it reminds me of those um, like tropical fruit punch juice boxes that you could get as
Yeah,
a kid.
Five Alive,
Well, not even Five Alive, because Five Alive had more of like that, almost like
orangey.
an orangey citrus to it. I was
Yeah,
thinking more like Minute Maid tropical fruit punch, which
gotcha.
I'm sure was made largely from actual fruit and not
Hmm.
mostly from artificial flavors.
Well, it was before the time where they figured out corn syrup is the best thing to put in everything, though. So
Mm. There's some nice waxy, like marshmallowy tones to it too.
yeah, this one is interesting. Like it's pretty straightforward for a grain for me, and I was kind of comparing it to the Canadian Club 41, which we had
Hmm.
last time around, and it's got a little bit more of that wood driven style to it. It's got a little bit more spice going through, but
Hmm.
it's missing a little bit of what that juiciness that really entices me with the CC 41.
Hmm. Well, I have to try them side by side because I'm really
Yeah.
digging this tonight. I remember when I first tried it, thinking that it was a little too medicinal, that it had more of
Hmm.
like a chemical,
Yeah.
slightly like clean antiseptic note to it, and that it was
Yeah.
more spirit driven. Whereas now I'm finding, that time that it's been decanted, put into this little bottle, that little bit of oxidation has really, really opened this up.
Well, lemon pledge has been mentioned, which I think there is a little bit of that to it.
Mm.
It isn't going like there's a bit of maybe menthol coming in, just that with
Mhm.
that sort of high alcohol grain style, but still kept in check with a lot of the barley and the carpentry and the fruit notes for me.
Yeah. Cool. Well, anything else you need to learn us about Strathclyde or Whiskey Trail, Evan, before we move on to number two?
Just that it's like every other distillery, even on the grain side in Scotland, it is absolutely dwarfed by the size of Cameron Bridge,
Mm. So it's big, but not that
but
big.
not big. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
it's only
right.
40 million liters here.
Well, I mean, that seems appropriate for Chivas Brothers because Pernod Ricard because
Yep,
they're big, but they're not Diageo big. So
that's true.
door number 7 has been opened. Behind it, it is our Barry's Teaninich
Yes.
KWM cask, which talk about waxy. I mean, this should get us into that lovely waxy territory. 2010 vintage Teaninich. So, Evan, what do you want to tell us about here first? Barry Brothers, Teaninich, or something
Yeah,
completely
so
unrelated?
I barely touched on Berry Brothers. I did mention that it's probably my favorite distilleries because it has NIN in it, a la Nine Inch Nails.
Okay.
But it I love this bottle. I kind of forgot about it when it first came in, I think a lot of people did. It's kind of understated versus a lot of single casks that we've got in over the last year or so. Came in May with a slew of other single casks and has sold well, but hasn't been talked up maybe by us as much as some of the other single casks that we have. But it is gorgeous. Like it's so grassy. You can see that sort of like that malt filter-esque note to it, and the hammer mills in there where it creates that sort of grassy but clean spirit. Um, it's just a wonderful, wonderful whiskey. So yeah, Teaninich stylistically is a little bit different than other distilleries. We talked a bit about this if you were in on our Diageo special releases tasting. Teaninich actually has just released a rye whiskey as well for the first time because it has a hammer mill that they use for everything instead of roller mill, is it? Um,
Mhm.
it's it's more capable of doing different grains than your typical roller mill. It doesn't get sort of stopped up or gummed up by the heavier grains. And with their mash filter, they're a little bit more versatile in what they can do whiskey wise as well versus other single malt distilleries.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's an interesting distillery. I think it's fair that this one probably arrived, I want to say like May or June, which is
Yeah,
can be a difficult time to launch a whiskey because people are thinking about summer or they're going away. And then it was followed by the Linkwood and the Tormore, pretty shortly after it arrived. But it caught on quite well. It's
mhm.
been selling well. I think we're down to like less than a quarter of what we started
Yeah,
with because this is cool to me for a couple of reasons. One, it's a really nice waxy example of Teaninich, which is a distillery that I think at times Diageo has tried to not replicate but augment Clynelish with,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
production for their Johnny Walker Gold Label blend. The other thing that's cool about this is the price. I mean, we tried really hard, and this is something we've been working with a lot of the people, a lot of our partners, to try to get them to understand that like the days of $160, $180 13-year-old whiskeys are largely
Yes.
over.
Yeah.
And it took some pushing, but Berry Brothers came around. I don't know if this is exactly 13 or if it's 14 years of age, but it doesn't really
Mhm.
matter. It's $129. It's getting close to that $10 a year benchmark, which I think, especially for independent bottlings, is key because
Yes.
there's just so many options out there. And as good a value as this is, there's stuff that you can buy that's still substantially cheaper. And I think that that's the struggle is you can get people to pay a premium for something that's cool and a one-off, but there's a limit to how much of a premium they're willing to pay for it.
Absolutely. So yeah, Teaninich is it's a distillery that I discovered, and someone mentioned like the boutique tea and Innick prior. So we've had two different boutique tea and Innicks that have been in our calendar prior to this. First one was a 10-year-old, one was a 12-year-old. And both were great. The 12-year-old was a lot bigger and bolder in style. 10-year-old was more akin to this and a little bit lower ABV. I think it was at 49.5. But they all have this sort of grassy citrus, almost like a hint of lemongrass, a bit of spice, but that waxiness that Andrew was talking about, really soft. approach versus the sort of like more vibrant fruit notes that you get on something like a liquid or other distilleries of the oak. And the interesting thing about Teaninich is it is quietly the third, I think it's the third or fourth largest distillery in Diageo's portfolio for malt.
Mhm.
It is a massive producer. I think can do over 10 million liters a year, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that does sound about right.
Mhm.
Well, I love the nose on this, as I've already said. It's floral,
Yeah,
it's juicy. There's some nice malt tones too. I mean, and it's
yeah,
almost a little bit farmy, but without being
yeah.
obnoxiously barnyardy. Uh,
There's a there's a chalkiness to it as well, I find on
mhm.
the nose.
On the fruit side of things, mainly in that citrus or white fruit territory, and very reminiscent of like your Starburst fruit candies kind of profile.
Mhm. Yeah, and then again, spicy but soft. It's not a big, massive, juicy dram. It's just really well put together. Just a lot going on, but it goes for the subtle side of things from this hogshead that it was matured in.
Hmm. Yeah, and so that added a question there that David asked, what type of hogshead? In
Yeah,
this case, almost certainly it's an ex-bourbon hogshead,
that would be my guess. Yeah.
but frequently they won't tell us. Often they say they don't know, but actually the way that bourbon hogsheads and sherry hogsheads are coopered is slightly different. So
Hmm.
if they're paying attention, they can look around the rim of the cask, where the staves on the walls meet the head. And depending on how it's built, you can tell what type it is. But sometimes a refill sherry hoggy is almost indistinguishable from a refill ex-bourbon hoggy. It you
Hmm.
know, sherry can be misleading at times, but given how clean this is and how toasty, it has to be an ex-bourbon hoggy.
Yeah, and my guess is even on whatever side it's on, it was probably a refill of some sort. It doesn't feel like a first fill of anything, in my opinion.
Hmm. Oh man. Yeah, the palate I think matches the nose nicely. It's still floral. There's a little bit of toastiness there. Very
Yep.
malty, but like soft, clean malt. One of the things that I think is unique about Teaninich, which does have a fairly long fermentation, is they
Hmm.
also have a very clear wort. So the
Yeah.
beer that they distill, and this is because of that mash filter process. It leaves a much
Yep.
cleaner wort, which, if you're a brewer, you probably would prefer that to a cloudy or a dirty wort because it just gives you a much cleaner, more crisp profile in the beer
Yeah.
that you're making.
Yeah, it's typically, and this is not always what happens, but it was something that is very akin to what the everybody thinks of Japanese whiskey as being of having that clean wort and that
Mhm,
sort of like cleaner style to it as well.
mhm. Yeah, nice fruity tones, creamy,
Mhm.
toasty, little waxy, nice little dram there, great mouthfeel,
Yeah,
beautiful little cask. And if I'm not mistaken, about three-quarters sold through.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Shall we on to day eight, Evan, or do we have
Yeah.
more to say?
No, I think that's we'll maybe come back to it second time around. There's
Mhm.
not much to say except for I love it on that one.
Yeah, if this is your first time joining us for one of these virtual tastings, we do enjoy a speed round. So
Yeah,
we'll go through them
absolutely.
once, and then we'll come back and see how they change in the glass with time. So I've cracked
Hmm.
open door number eight, and I have another KWM cask here. I have our
Hmm.
Millstone 2016 Kensington Wine Market cask. Now, this is cool if you've never tried Dutch whiskey before. You're in for a treat. Millstone in the Netherlands uh, produces some incredible malt whiskeys, but also
Yeah,
rye whiskey. They also make very good gins, Yaniver. We've got some Corin wine in store, which is a curious one. He makes rum. Patrick Van Zwiedem, the man who owns Millstone, it's his family business. Started
yeah.
making whiskey in 1996. And Evan, this is our third cask from them, but our first single malt.
Yeah, so the two previous casts that we had, and one of them was in a calendar, were rye whiskeys. Millstone also does a fantastic rye whiskey. Tends to be like really earthy and pungent, and sort of like almost like a pumpernickel note to it. But it tends to have this fantastic citrus note that keeps uplifting it throughout. We are big fans of Millstone. This is, I believe it's the sixth. Yeah, this is this no two fours, possibly the seventh if you include Uber editions. Whiskey from Millstone that's been in our calendar. So more Millstone than Teaninich has
Really?
made it into our calendar in the past.
Evan, have you been tallying up that data yourself, or did you use some form of artificial intelligence to pull that
No,
for you?
I'm not smart enough to use AI to do my work for me, unfortunately. I did spend some time tallying up all the calendar stuff that we've done in the past
Hmm.
since 2014
Hmm.
over the summer, and I've got sort of like a spreadsheet and a couple blog posts that I can just search through to make
Hmm.
things easier now.
So, quick little funny story about the label. If you haven't seen this before, that is a painting of our shop. It was done for me by my wife a few years ago as a gift. I liked the image. I thought it would be fun. Actually, it's hanging in our tasting room at the store, but I liked the image and I thought it would be fun to put it on a whiskey label. My wife is a lawyer. I should have spoken with her about this first, but I just thought she'd be pleased that we put to good use this image that she had commissioned done of the shop. Well, the whiskey came into the store. I took a bottle home and I was like, hey, check out what just arrived in the store today. And she looked at me like I was stupid and said, do you have the rights to use that image? And no, I did not contact the original artist for
No,
permission to use the painting she paid for. Uh, but I suppose that's a thing. So hopefully the original artist is not watching this tasting, or if
yeah,
you are, I'll send you a bottle and we can just call it even.
yeah. Just like a company producing AI, you feel like it's better to beg forgiveness than to ask permission.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, so Evan, what else would you like to tell us about this dram or
Yeah, so this is Oloroso cask. This is, I think the ryes that we had were both all either virgin oak or ex-bourbon barrels, if I remember correctly. American oak. Oloroso, I believe it was Hogshead. Uh,
yeah, it was definitely
322
not a
bottles
share.
in total.
It
Yeah,
was definitely not a butt.
yeah. Distilled on June 30th of 2016, bottled on April 2nd of 2024. Uh, pardon me, 322 bottles in total.
Mhm. And again, I think this is one where we're getting down to like
Yeah.
less than a quarter, possibly quite a bit less than a quarter of the original outturn.
Mhm.
What I really love about this whiskey is, well, the price on it, I think, is great. Price to quality ratio. And the other thing to keep in mind here is we're talking about the Netherlands, which has a warmer climate than the UK. So maturation there is a little faster. This, don't focus on that 7 year
Yeah.
number because this is really more like a 10 to 12-year-old in terms of effective aging of the spirit. But the other
Yeah.
key thing here is the sherry cask that Patrick Van Zwieten uses.
Yes.
He does not use the sherry seasoned casks that the rest of the industry relies on. He uses Solera system casks that actually mature sherry for drinking. So it's a more old school style of sherry than you get with the likes of even Macallan today, which rely on those sherry seasoned casks. This is, um, yeah, an Oloroso sherry cask that was used to mature actual sherry for drinking.
Yeah. And Millstone or Zweedom, the Zweedom distillery, they seem to have this what must be a really weighty spirit. Maybe akin to like a Glenfarclas or a Glendronach, where it does really well in sherry cask, but there's these notes that come in that don't necessarily come from the sherry. Like it always tends to have this sort of uplifting citrus or even into like a pine sap note for me on the nose, and then they're along with the with the sherry, you get these black licorice sort of even into Dutch licorice notes for me on the nose for this one.
Hmm. Well, nice candied fruit tones in there,
Hmm.
nice chocolate, really soft leather. It's got a nice balance to it. It's not overly tannic, overly leathery, overly spicy. It's just fresh. It's this nice
Yeah,
fresh mix of spirit and sherry cask together.
yeah, yeah. It's a fun one. Millstone's definitely worth exploring if you haven't done so already, and we're trying our best to make sure you do with our whiskey calendars. But check out their single malt. They do some great peated single malt as well. Maybe we'll have to do a peated cask of our own next time around. We'll see. But also do fantastic rye, as was mentioned, and then they do gin, they do Yennefer, they do rum, as Andrew was saying, even into liqueurs, which I think was kind of their bread and butter up until they started into the single malt and whiskey game when they started that type of distillation back in 96 or 97.
Hmm. Yeah, it was 1996, I believe, was the first
Yeah,
year. And I think Patrick was barely 18 at the time.
yeah.
He'd already been working in the distillery for a number of years, and he wanted to make whiskey in the Scottish style in the Netherlands, convinced his father that this would be a worthy thing to dabble
Mhm.
in. And yeah, they've done a great job with it. Everything that they touch seems to be very well made. They're just
Yes.
very detailed, very precise, very dialed in. One other fun little nugget about the image on that bottle that we showed you before, which is in the description, it is the pre-break-in
Yes.
entrance to the store. That entrance has changed slightly uh, due to the infamous Dodge Ram incident. So that is a historic view of the business as it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a little bit more of a close up on there. You can tell there's no uh, big thing up here where the rollers come down from now.
Mhm.
It used to just be gates or grates that came across here
Yeah,
uh, back in the bygone era before Dodge Rams were considered a weapon.
it's there. It's a every time my phone rings late at night, I have to look at it just to see, just in case,
Yeah.
you know, someone's maybe decided to use a Ford Explorer this time to
Yeah.
explore
Yeah.
the entrance of our
Yeah.
business.
It's in our 30 plus years of business and operation, only one person has had an issue with us not having a drive-through.
Hmm. Um, some, Raoul there is asking about peat. Does this whiskey have some peat to it? And I don't think you're the first person to raise that
Hmm.
question with this. If there's any peat there, it's very minimal. And I
Yeah.
would say that it's more likely that maybe this is from a batch of whiskey where they didn't clean the stills thoroughly
Yep.
between doing a peated run and then doing a regular run. Because the reality is they don't use, if they peat, they go full in. It's like very heavily peated. And that style of Millstone is quite distinct.
Yeah. I agree with the Szechuan ghost pepper potentially on this one. It does have this tingliness to it. I don't get peat on this one either, but there could be something residual in there for sure.
There's definitely, and I think this is where more of that might be coming from.
Yeah.
There's definitely a little bit of spice to
Yeah.
that sherry profile. It's not like a real peppery spice. It's more of per that like a Szechuan, like a real smoky kind of spice to it. And keep in mind these casks uh, do experience a level of charring or toasting, so you can always get a degree of that from the wood anyway. But yeah, great little dram. Quite happy with that one. Uh, shall we see what's next, Evan?
Yeah. Let's go on to number 9.
Day number 9. All right, I've got it. I think. Yeah, just got to find the right spot to open it. So behind door number 9. Oh, that one's going to fight me. Behind door number 9, we have the old Maltcast 25th anniversary Speyburn 17 years. So
Yeah.
uh, I think we're going towards something that's a little bit more modern style sherry here.
Yeah, definitely. And the 25th anniversary series, I wasn't in on the virtual tasting for it, but it seems like there were some very modern interpretations of sherry in that lineup, including some cream sherry casks and other things. This one, the cask itself is probably a little bit more traditional. If I remember correctly, this is, what does this say? Is it Palo Cortado? Manzanilla? Oloroso actually on this one, but
Mhm.
it's kind of a, to me it's a really balanced round. Like there's still the Speyburn spirit coming through in there. There's a little bit of saltiness to it. It's a pretty fantastically balanced sherry drown where you still get some citrus notes as well. Had a comment from a customer saying they really enjoyed this one today as well. So from Old Malt Cask is owned by Hunter Lang, one of the two famous Lang companies in the Scotch whiskey game. Uh, the original family split from Douglas Lang and became Douglas Lang and Hunter Lang back in 2011 or 2013, if I remember correctly, and sort of divided up the brands between of Douglas Lang between them. Old Malt Cask, which did just celebrate its 25th anniversary a couple of years back, did go to Hunter Lang. Um, Typically, anything that's done in the Old Malt Cask lineup, although not always, typically they're going to be bottled at 50% alcohol. So they are slightly cut down, but not cut down completely.
Mhm.
This one is 50% alcohol, and it's 17 years old from 2005 and from Speyburn Distillery.
Yeah, Evan, I can think of two examples of old malt casks that were not 50%. And they
Yeah.
were both Kensington Wine Market casks. There
Yes.
was our 1983 Port Ellen back in the day, which would have been about 2008, 2009 that came in. And then the other one was the old malt cask Bowmore 21-year-old,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
arrived in the store the day Jim McEwen just happened to be visiting. And even though he was not working for uh,
Hunter
Bowmore
Lang.
anymore.
Well, you're
Uh,
kind of working for him for
Unbeknownst
it.
to
Yeah.
ourselves, he was in the process of going to work with the guys at Ardnahoe to get that up and running. So he agreed to sign because he was the distillery manager when that Bowmore was made. The spirit was produced, so he agreed to sign the first like 90 bottles of it, which was kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really nice of him. Not that Jim's got his sort of diva-esque style, but he's also been a rock star, and the reason he's a rock star is that he's tends to be great with customers, and that was really nice of him to do.
Yeah, he literally just sat down at a table and said, "Hand me bottles, and I'll sign every single one you have in the store."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we did it.
Mhm.
That was quite a treat. One of the things you might not have noticed, and I'm just going to share my screen again for a second, is that this was part of, as Evan mentioned, the 25th anniversary range of Old Malt casks, celebrating when that bottling was first released. And I have fond memories of it because when I started in the industry in 2003, keep having to look back to remember what date that was. Old Malt Cask was one of the few independent bottlers that was quite prominent in the market, along with Gordon MacPhail, Murray McDavid. And this is what the bottlings used to look like back then. So it's a retro label. This is a kind
Yeah,
of a retro revival style to celebrate the anniversary. And I have to say, like, I think I like these retro labels better than I like the more modern ones.
I like the packaging more too, where the getting into and getting the bottle doesn't have that sort of cardboard piece around the neck, the cardboard dicky almost.
Yeah.
That tends to be a pain to get off, and
Mhm.
sometimes ends up jabbing into the foil.
And in the good old days when you'd get those old malt cask bottles, for some reason, a lot of them would come with a luggage tag tucked into the neck of the bottle. So there'd always be like these weird extra bits of
Yeah.
swag that would sometimes be like, like opening a Cracker Jack box and getting a whistle or something out of it.
Mhm.
So the sherry notes on this are quite nice for a modern style. It's decadent, candied, moving towards like a sort of a sweeter chocolate and licorice for me.
I was just checking. There was a third, at least one more OMC bottling that was at a higher strength than 50, and that was another KWM cask, which was our Ben Rennes,
Mm.
which was bottled at 56% alcohol.
So there you go, three. At least
Hmm.
three that we know of. Yeah,
Yeah,
nose and
this is
palate. Go ahead.
really gorgeous and lively sherry, but like more on the grape juice side of things than the big sort of tawny, like hyper rich dried fruit notes for me.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, just like almost a little bit of acidity coming in there as well, for which is nice.
So I got the chance, or I had the chance to visit Speyburn in 2024. I was visiting, and I love her for this. I was visiting Deb's at Glenfarclas,
Mm.
and she's like, "Meet me at Glenfarclas, but if you want to, we don't have to tour Glenfarclas. We'll go somewhere else." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," because one of the things in this is going to sound terrible on one level, but it is the truth. I cannot stand touring distilleries anymore. I've been to some of them a dozen times. I've been to over 100 in Scotland, the United States, Canada, Ireland, Japan, Taiwan. I've probably been to actually close to 150 distilleries. And when I go now, I like to ask for a private visit. All I want to do is walk around and take
Yeah,
photos and ask the odd question. I don't want to learn about how the starches get converted to sugar or any of this stuff. And most of the time when I request these ones, they're like, sure, no problem. And then the guide, and Evan's witnessed this, can't help it. They've got a
yeah,
rhythm, and then they
yeah.
have to tell you about the starches getting converted to sugar. And then my vision starts to collapse in on myself and I want to die. But if
I
I've never been to a distillery before, that's interesting. I want to go and see
yeah,
it, hear the sh- hear the spiel once. But if I've been to the distillery, I just can't do it anymore. So Deborah and I, instead of going to Glenfarclas, which and walking around it, which I've done many, many times, we went to see Speyburn. And what was fascinating about Speyburn is they still have a drum maltings on site. They've cleaned it up in the last year or so. They've opened a visitor center. And one of the coolest things about the drum maltings is it shut down one time or one day, I think in the late 90s, and they basically just walked away and locked it up. So when they cleaned this up, like all the tools were exactly where the employees had left them. The machine that collects the chits, which are the little roots that come off the barley, and the bags that collect them were still hanging with this material collected in them. So it's fascinating to walk into this. They cleaned it up, but other than that, they left it exactly as the workmen had left it when they turned it off the last day it operated.
yeah. Yeah, I think it was actually that's cool that you got to visit Speyburn and you actually had someone to take you there because from what I've seen online, that it looks like it's almost hidden by the forest it's within.
Hmm.
But I feel like in 2019 when you took me, I was well, and even before that when we went to Kentucky, I definitely could see the I've done this before part of Andrew. In 2017, it was very much in the I've got my head down in my BlackBerry and I'm responding to things on Twitter and doing emails during the tours, which is how we almost missed seeing John Glazer from Compass Box at Angel's Envy. But then I think I saw the straw that broke the camel's back when it came to tours as well, and that was probably Lefroy Distillery.
It was a lanky young man who should not have been employed to
Yeah,
work there, but we won't delve too much
yeah,
further into that.
yeah. But yeah, this is as a lot of the people in the chat have been saying, this is fantastic sherry. Like it's not the big, rich sherry. It's not even as big as the Millstone that came before it necessarily on the sherry side of things. There's a really balance of like citrus notes and some more lively and juicy sherry notes coming through on this one, and I really enjoy that for it.
Yeah. Almost a little minty note there, but as it
Yeah,
was put into the chat, it's very grapey. Dare I might even say the power of suggestion. There is almost like a blackberry note to this on the
yeah,
palate. A little bit of like Hubba Bubba, grape Hubba Bubba, touch jammy. But yeah, nice little whiskey. Speybur's got a nice weight to it. I think it does work well with
yeah.
sherry. The core range, the 15 and the 18, I believe both have a
Quite
sherry
good.
component to
Yeah,
them. And they're both quite nice. There are some people that poo-poo them. I think they're probably being a little uncharitable though. I thought
yeah.
both the 15 and the 18, they're both 46%. They're both a decent dram.
Well, Speyburn itself tends to be, I'm kind of starting to think of it as a little bit of a an underdog distillery. Like it's one where it's almost ubiquitous because it is relatively large production and it's just considered that by the owners. They've done a
Mhm.
little bit of work to try and give it a little bit more pizzazz on the single malt side of things, which is great.
Mhm.
But they it just doesn't have the cachet of some other Speyside distilleries, that's for sure.
Mhm. I see there's at least a couple people in there who also miss their blackberries. So, you know, pour one out if you feel so inclined. So day 10, Evan, I think that's where we're off to next.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh man, that's bad news. Sasha says he heard or they heard that the Speyburn core range is going to 40% now. That would be atrocious.
That'll be
I
the
think the
death
10
knell.
might be at 40, but giving that
In
to the 15 or 18 would be terrible.
in the current market, I think that would be suicide. So
Yeah.
last dram of the night tonight, Port Askaig 17, and
Yes.
oh, I got it. I was about to say you didn't have to fight a single one of them tonight,
Yeah.
and
I could have
that
sent you
last one.
the gift that I got from Doug there just to help you out. So
Yeah,
thank you, Doug. I've got him by my laptop just in case.
yeah. If only we could through Amazon send everybody a set of
Yeah.
flyers just in case. Hopefully you've got
Well,
one.
that's maybe we do a mini version of Vice Grips instead of a mini Glencairn glass in the next calendar.
Steve's enjoying his tasting in his office, which I really respect.
Nice.
I think well done to that, Steve. That's dedication. We like to see dedication.
Yeah.
Oh, home off.
Um,
Okay.
well, and nose wise, well, first of all, Portiskeag is a brand. It's also the one of the two ferry landings, if I remember correctly, on Isla, the one that I landed on
Yeah.
or at, and it's a lot of the time it's put together by Elixir Distillers. It's one of their brands. The guys behind the Whiskey Trail, which we already talked about, and Single Malts of Scotland and Elements of Ireland, and so on and so forth. Portiskeag, they have all been single malt releases and all from Islay. But the distillery that it came from can vary. I can't remember if Oliver gave us specific yes, this is from Kalila in one of the tastings or not. It is likely Kalila just because that's the largest distillery on Isla by production, but the 17-year-old possibly could come from somewhere else, I guess.
You know, Evan, to be honest, I don't remember. Did
Yeah,
we do a tasting with him with this?
I think the 17 was in there, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's why I was trying to recall if it was mentioned or not.
So the balance of probabilities would be that this is almost
Yeah,
certainly Kalila.
yeah,
And the reason I'd say that is that it's the largest volume distillery on the island.
yeah,
The only other distillery that they would have had a significant amount of aged whiskey like this from is probably Bunnahabhain. And this is not peated Bunnahabhain. Like, I think it's pretty
no,
clear, just nosing it, this does not come across as peated Bunnahabhain. I think it's quite distinctly Kalila
yeah,
on the nose.
yeah. It is an absolutely gorgeous nose. Like it's a pretty clean and like ocean driven peat to me.
Hmm.
Lots of seafood notes on there. Not a whole lot of that brine and iodine side of things, like definitely some saltiness, but some big citrus notes in there too, and some really good sort of like roasted and toasted grain notes in there as well.
So it's to me, it's bacon and
Yeah,
like a bit of pan-seared scallop. And the
yeah,
bacon's like that really fatty, slow
yeah,
cooked or slightly undercooked bacon note to it. And again, those to
yeah,
me are just keys of Kalila. They're notes that one or the other, or sometimes both, I find you get from Kalila. But this is not, yeah, there's nothing about this that says peated Bunnahabhain to me.
hmm yeah. I love this nose. Like I'm starting to really enjoy, and maybe this is harkening back to the Teaninich, but the more like there's a lot of pleasure to be had in like a simple dram, if the simple dram is done well. Like there's nothing
Mhm.
overly complex on the nose. It's just really, really well put together.
Mhm. Yeah, the palate on this, I think Chris nailed it. There's a nice sweetness to it, but it's a very
Yeah.
subtle sweetness. And that
Hmm.
sweetness really complements the smoke, it complements the salt, it complements that the kind of fatty bacon notes and
Yeah.
those seafoody tones too. Kalila is just to me is such a even more so than almost any other whiskey in Scotland. It makes me think of savory foods.
Yeah.
You can have some nice fruit tones in there. You can have some nice citrus and lemon, especially. But to me, like those bacon notes, those seafood
Yeah.
notes, other spirits that have them, it comes across as a meatiness. And that meatiness can often be off-putting because I think it's
Yeah.
from using worm tubs or, running your stills more quickly. Kalila's profile is not like that. There's just this nice fatty oiliness to it that you just
Yeah.
don't get in many other distillates.
Absolutely. Yeah, a good strength for this one too. I think it's 50.7% alcohol. Uh, just as American oak casks, I'm pretty sure that was mostly ex-bourbon or ex-rye or
Mhm.
whatever. But just this clean style, Kalila does anything really well, whether it's sherry or bourbon or what have you. But this tends to be my favorite style of Kalila. Sherry casks can be fun with their more barbecue driven style, but the just that seafood, shellfish, um, citrus character, even some parent peach notes in there. It's a lovely, lovely dram.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a nice older style Isla. So someone there said mild Kalila. This is Kalila starting to hit its maturity, starting to,
Yeah,
frankly
yeah,
reach adulthood. And the thing with peat is it's in the cask. It mellows and it fades over time. Sometimes it holds up well. Like you can think of like some older Ardbegs or Lafroig bottlings
yep,
where the peat stayed fairly firm. But even with those distilleries, the best older peated whiskeys to me are the ones where the phenols become more oily and
yeah,
almost doughy, and the peat becomes this has this starts to have this butteriness to it
yeah.
that you can't get in a younger whiskey. Now, I know people that love young Ardbeg and hate some of the older releases, and the reason
Mhm.
for it is they like that really hard, firm smoke. What's nice when you start getting into whiskeys like this or even older is that smoke becomes almost ethereal. It's there, but it's not. It's just a part of the picture, and it's kind of this nice, elegant top note on top of everything else that's there.
Mhm. David McLaren says, "What's the best escape you've had?"
Hmm.
For me, it's the Port Escape 28, which was either Kalila or Lafroig,
The,
which
the,
I absolutely loved.
the 28 was Lafroig, almost
Yeah,
almost certainly.
yeah,
I love that Port Askaig 28, but I don't know if you remember it, Evan. So I'm gonna answer in two parts. I think
yeah.
my favorite one was the Port Askaig 19 that we had
Oh, that was
probably
amazing
7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah,
That was in some ways like this, but the peat was even softer and it was going big time tropical. So
yeah.
that Port Askaig 19 for a peated Port Askaig, that was my favorite. My favorite Port Askaig of all time though is the 45. I love
Cool.
that tropical Bunnahabhain 45. There's no peat in it. It's bottled just barely above 40%, and that's
Yeah,
cask strength. But to me, that is I'm still mourning. We used to have it on sale for 1750, I think it was a
yeah.
ball. Nowadays, like our wholesale is higher than that on it, but it's still my favorite in the whole range, that 45-year-old.
Yeah,
Well,
that 45 is quite good too. And that kind of illustrates what I was trying to talk about too with the Portiskank, where a lot of the releases have been Kalila because, as you were saying, that Kalila is the easiest malt to get your hands on. But the Portiskank 45 was Bunnahabhain. There was a 15-year-old that was heavily sherried that was Bunnahabhain as well, if I remember correctly. The
mhm.
19 was more than likely Kalila. The 25 was Kalila, if I remember correctly as well. Um,
25 was Kalila.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then again, most likely Lefroy on that 28.
Hmm.
So it's they always do Isla single malt, but it's not linked to just one single distillery.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think Evan, I mean, we'll see what happens with the brand moving forward because
Yeah.
they've got their Elements of Isla range as well.
Mhm.
But the reality is, sometime in the months ahead, the owners of Elixir or the owners of Port Askaig, which is Elixir Distillers, are going to turn on their Isla distillery, Port Tintruin, for the first time.
Yes, absolutely
So in
excited for
five,
that.
10 years, they might not be doing this. There might not be a need for this because they're going to have 9 to 10 year old Port Tintruin whiskey to talk about. So, shall we
Mhm.
start the speed round, Evan, and do
Yeah,
a little
let's go
bit
back
from now?
and run through these once more, starting back with day number 6, which was the Whiskey Trail Strathclyde 35-year-old.
So, I have to be honest, when we first got this in, I
Yeah.
think I was not excited about it. I just
Yep.
I found it was too grainy. It was
Mhm.
too again, medicinal is the only word I can really use to describe it. Not in the Ardbeg sense, but in the like I don't know, like antiseptic sense of the word or like a cleaning agent. And I know Pine Sol, I
Yep.
think, or Mr. Clean might have come into the conversation earlier.
Yep.
But it is
For
just
sorry,
sorry,
go ahead.
I
Yeah,
say,
I'll go after it.
but now it is just it's so fruity, it's custardy. It reminds me of like French crepes, lemon juice, powdered sugar. It's just decadent and enticing. Or there used to be a place down on 4th Street in Calgary. I don't know if it was called the Creperie, but like you went there for both savory and sweet crepes. Like that's all they used to make. And
Yep. I like that crepe note. And I was going to say, for those of you that ever bartended and bartended in places that had the liqueur bottles that just sat around because nobody used them anymore, um, this nose is like Galliano liqueur right now for me, very vanilla driven. Galliano liqueur has this big, rich vanilla note, and the only cocktail that I can think of that it's ever used in was called a Harvey Wallbanger, which is a prohibition or even maybe pre-prohibition cocktail, which was actually kind of gross, in my opinion. It was essentially a screwdriver where you floated some vanilla liqueur on it, which doesn't sound great to me. But it also has, along with those buttery notes that people are saying, it's got this movie popcorn note right now that I quite enjoy on the nose.
yeah, nice caramel tones on the back end. It's a little bit buttery. It's very lush. I think this is, I mean, I liked it a lot better tonight than I did when we tasted it a
Mhm.
few months back or 3 or 4 months back. And I like it even better the second time around tonight than I did when we first went through it.
Second time around for sure. Check that bingo square if you have it.
Mm. Evan, I was telling them because I don't think you quite joined that
Yeah,
out of both, well, maybe I didn't go to this level of detail, but partially out of laziness, but also out of wanting to give them a sporting chance to complete those cards, I
yeah.
refused to look at it. So,
Mhm.
but it's probably mostly the first thing. It's probably mostly the laziness.
Yeah. Well, there's only so much time in the day right now too, and it seems to be less and less as we get further into
Mm.
December, which is the tough part. Back to the berries Teaninich with day
Yeah.
number 7.
Sort of yogurty.
Yeah, that's a good call. Any fruit in the yogurt?
It's probably that like Greek yogurt.
Yep,
You probably have to put your own fruit in it.
yep.
Very
Maybe just
malty though,
a bit of bananas and even some golden delicious apple slices in there for me.
and sour cream.
Hmm.
Palate's
The
still very pretty, very
yeah,
fresh.
hasn't changed much, but it's still a wonderful dram.
The shame is I don't think I like it as much as I do that Strathclyde, but it's also so young. So
Yeah.
young, as Will Ferrell once said.
Well, I think you're wrong there. I think the Teaninich is the king.
Tasty though. Um, to Millstone, back to the Netherlands briefly.
Yes. Oh man, it's so much a combination of like maple syrup and some Dutch licorice notes right
There's
now for me.
chocolate fudge in there now,
Oh yeah.
like a nutty chocolate fudge. Judy's chocolate fudge.
Yeah. There's a density to the nose from that
Mhm.
sherry cask and from the spirit.
Nice balance of sweet and savory on the palate, some nice spices. Still, again, lots of chocolate, candied
Hmm.
candied cherries, maybe a bit of like candied orange as
Yeah.
well.
Cracker Jacks, I think Zach had mentioned on the Strathclyde, and I get a bit of that on the Millstone as well.
Hmm. Okay.
Ravel says this is went fruitcake for him. Big time fruitcake notes for sure.
Yeah. All right. Speyburn. It noses like what are those called? Nerds right now.
Yeah,
Those
nice.
nerd candies. My
Yeah, I
children,
can see where you're going with that.
my adult children or child and her fiance quite like the nerd clusters. And
Hmm.
occasionally I'll allow myself to eat one of them. So I assume it is straight sugar.
Yeah, there's a touch of like just a balsamic note coming on in the background too right now.
Quite a firm, like soft leather note, bit of dry tobacco.
Yeah. Still get that saltiness on their that seems Speyburn seems to get that for some reason, and I'm not sure why, but
Mm.
I don't mind it at all.
Lick'em sticks, say Jackie and
Yeah,
David. There you go.
good call.
That's another thing I've not had in quite some time. Oh, this smells like Ardbeg buns, which is not to say that this smells like Ardbeg, but way back when at
This is a
Glenmorangie House.
Portiskeag now, sorry.
Yeah, the Port Askaig, way back when at Glenmorangie House, which is a lovely hotel, like guest house that you can stay at north of Inverness near the Glenmorangie distillery. They used to send peated malt from Ardbeg up and they would blend that in with their flour and then make buns to serve like dinner rolls to serve
Mhm.
to their guests. And these warmed Ardbeg buns, lightly peated with like fresh whipped butter on them out of the oven were insanely good. I would love to be able to replicate
Nice.
that here.
It does, and it's got this along with that bun note, and maybe this is going in the same way, but it reminds me of walking into or being first next to the kiln in a distillery that's got a floor maltings and or a kiln.
Mhm.
And then going into the room with the grates that all the grain goes into above the kiln afterwards. Just like has that sort of density to the smoke in there
Mhm.
right now.
Yeah. Well, Evan,
Hmm.
how 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 do we choose
So
favorites
I
here?
mine's easy. My choices were made before we even started this tasting, honestly. I knew what my favorites were. There's a couple that maybe changed over time. I've got more of an appreciation for that Strathclyde now, second time through. But I'll go ahead and give mine if you want to think on yours.
Yeah, please do because I think I have my top three narrowed down. I just need to
Yeah.
sort the order on them.
So I really did like the sherry on this. The Millstone is showing incredibly well. It's a great dram, and it has this. I love how Millstone has this its own style. It's not just trying to mimic just full on like we're a Scotch, but we're made in Holland kind of deal. Um, I really like that Oloroso cast. The Speyburn is great as well. I really like that sort of lively malt and lively sherry combination where nothing really takes over the other. The Speyburn is probably going to be my third actually, but my second favorite for the night is the Portiskeag 17. Um, that's just that clean peat style. I just absolutely adore. I think that's it's incredibly well put together. And then number one's got to be the Barry's Teaninich. I just absolutely adore that cask. I love the sort of the lightness without just being soft style that it has. It's got so much going on, but it's not the shout from the rooftops dram. It's the guy that's just like hanging out with you and you enjoy his company essentially.
Evan, I haven't looked at your cheeky third question yet, but I'm guessing it
Yeah.
references an essay because that has come up several times in the chat already.
Yeah.
Uh,
I thought that would invoke some anger, which was what I was going for.
mhm, mhm.
So Andrew, your favorites.
You know what? I'm gonna go off in a slightly different direction. I'm going Strathclyde as my favorite tonight. I love how fruity and decadent and oily that is. Like I would be very happy sitting and having a couple drams of it. I really love that Teaninich, but
Yeah.
I like the Millstone better. I think it's got a
Cool.
bit more depth to it. I'm also a fan of like good sherry that's not overwhelming sherry. And what I mean by that is that really dumpy, dark, over the top sherry style. So for me, that Millstone is number two. That is my second favorite. And I'm gonna agree with you that I think that Port Askaig really stood out too. I love
Yeah.
how clean it is. I love those fatty bacon seafood tones that it has. That little splash of like lemon juice, citrus in there too. I think it's great. But to
Yeah.
echo someone else's comment uh, in the chat, I mean, I think all of these showed very well tonight. There wasn't a bad one in the lineup. Now, to
Yeah.
be fair, we generally try all these whiskeys before we put them in the calendar. We don't put
Yeah.
anything in there blind.
At least one of us has tried them. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
there's a bit of commercial motive there. Like we don't want to put something bad in there. We might put something in there controversial at times, but
Yeah.
it's always things that we think are good and not even interesting because I don't think some companies in recent years have I think taken license with that word good
Yes.
and interesting. And interesting is a cover for bad, but there's a reason it's bad. So you should buy it because we've got a good reason why it's bad. Like that's not the kind of stuff that we like to put into the calendar.
Yeah. Interesting as a cover for travel retail right now, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. I'm looking at the poll. There's three of you who've not voted. We're going to give you approximately 1 minute to finish and to vote. Uh, Evan, I don't know if you've noticed this, but Chris Walker is This Is Not a Chris,
Yeah. Still not
or
Chris.
still not a Chris.
Yeah.
I wonder if he was This Is Not a Chris last year.
Yeah. Yeah. It might have been. Um, yeah. I didn't make that. I was thinking it was some sort of Slim Shady reference for some reason. But it makes more sense that Chris would be referencing our advent calendars. Uh, I wonder if this is going to be sort of like among the great of the 5 days in the calendar. I hate to think that this early on. I know we have some fantastic stuff coming through, but that whole lineup did show really, really well.
Well, and Evan, I guess it begs the question. I mean, most people by now have figured out there's a certain whiskey that's going to show up in one of the next three tastings. And by virtue of us trying to balance those tastings out,
Yes.
will the rest of the lineup in that one particular tasting be slightly less exciting
Yeah.
or less impactful than that one bottling that's coming up?
It's got to be like if it's the bottle I think of, it's got to be like the rest of the whiskeys in the lineup are like $30 bargain bin blends,
Yeah,
right? It's
because
just
that's
like
that's what we do.
Grant's,
Exactly.
then Famous Grouse, then Cutty Sark, and then
Mhm.
one more blend.
Yeah. I do want to acknowledge here, Steve thinks Chris's humor is a Chris miss. So that's a good one. That's a good one. I like that. All right, let's share the results here. A
Mm,
few of you never got around to voting, but that's okay. So first favorite of the night, look at that. I'm actually not surprised. The
no.
Port Askaig 17 stole the show there. It's a lovely dram. It showed very, very well. But what about second favorite? It's still the Port Askaig 17.
Wow.
So I think
Yep.
it's the clear uh, heads head above everyone else favorite of the night. And Evan, I think you're a happy man here because I think the Teaninich on the aggregate is the second favorite
Yep.
in both votes there. So that bodes well for you. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, so third question there was if you did not choose the Barry's Teaninich as your favorite, please write a brief 500-word essay regarding why your decision was incorrect and what you will do to rectify this. Uh, uh, Second place, shockingly, is Don't Blame Me. I voted for Teaninich. I just want to see if those correspond there. I think there's some liars in the room. At least three of you are lying about that being your first favorite. But the winner at 14 votes was I accept that I have made mistakes and I will email the teacher my essay forthwith. So Evan at KensingtonWineMarket.com is where you could send those essays
yeah. And
if you're
just to
looking
make
to
it
do
easier, and
so.
you have already put it in the chat for you. So
There
you
you
can just
go.
click on that link now, save that as a draft email in your folder, and
Mhm.
then presumably get ChatGPT or whatever Chrome's version
Oh
of it
yeah.
is to write that for you.
Well, and I will be running it through AI to make sure there's no plagiarism, just so you know.
But I mean, it's not like we're going to kick you out of school, aka the tastings.
That's right.
So
That's right.
do as you wish. Well, I think that was a fun lineup tonight, fun range. We've got three more tastings to go.
Yeah,
When's the next one? Is it Sunday night?
I think that's correct.
Seems like it's Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No, Monday. Is it Monday?
Yeah, Monday is the 15th for
All right.
December.
So until Monday night, everyone,
Yeah,
you've got 5 days to get AI to write up some BS essay for Evan, and
that's right.
we'll all reconvene here online. Uh, Maybe we'll read the best snippets of some of those essays and share them with the class.
I suppose we could. I thought like as a true teacher is meant to do, I would read out the worst to shame that person. But I suppose we could read the best one.
Maybe both,
Yeah.
you know, the yin and the yang. Well, until Monday night, everyone, I hope you have a great night. I hope you enjoy the next 5 days of Whiskey Advent. We'll see you again in five nights. And until then, stay well and try to avoid that bug that's going around.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care, everybody.